Hello friends, in this tutorial we are going to write the SQL query to fetch customer details from the customers table who have an savings account. So to write this query we are going to use correlated subquery. So it is one of type of subquery in which the inner subquery depends on the values from the outer query. So in correlated subquery the inner subquery is executed for each row of the outer query, and then the results of subquery depends on the values of current row that is being processed in the outer query. So we will learn in detail about this correlated subquery while writing the query, and also we are going to use the exist keyword in this query. So the exist keyword is used to check the existence of rows in a subquery. So the exist keyword returns the boolean value true or false based on the results from the subquery. Okay, the important thing to know here is if the subquery returns at least one row, the exist keyword evaluates true, which means the exist keyword returns true at least if the subquery returns one row. Okay, so if no rows are returned from the subquery, then the exist keyword returns the false. Okay, the results of exist query is then used in the where condition of the outer query to filter row based on the existence of rows in the subquery. So the exist keyword is used with the where so that the final results are filtered based on this where condition. Okay, so you will understand more while writing the query. So our query is to fetch the customer details from the customers table. So and also we need to check, we need to bring the customers who has savings account. If you look at the database diagram here, so to find out the type of account the customer is holding, we need to get the data from accounts table. So accounts table has a field account type. This gives whether the account type is the savings account or checkings account, whatever. So we need to join this, we need to work on these two tables, customers and accounts. Okay, so let us now write the query. Select c dot customer underscore id, c dot customer underscore name from customers table. So we need to alias this customers table as c, where, so as I mentioned here, exist keyword is used with where condition, where exist. Okay, exist select, so select one. So you need to know what will be the result of select one. So first run select one, it just returns the one. If you select one and if you execute this query, it just returns the one value. Okay, select one from accounts table A, where c dot, where a dot customer id is equal to c dot customer id. So what's happening here? What is correlated subquery? Correlated subquery is a type of subquery where inner query depends on the outer query. So how this inner query is dependent on the outer query? So this c dot customer id and c dot customer id. So from the outer query we are passing customer id, and what other information we have? So correct subquery executed of the results of subquery depends on the values from the current subquery in the outer row. In a correlated subquery, the inner subquery is executed for each row of the outer query. So this is important thing to know. The inner subquery is executed for each row of the outer query. For every row that contains the outer query, inner query is executed. If you look at the customers table, we have total 15 records, which means the inner query is executed 15 times. For each row, the inner query is executed. So for example, if you consider the current row being processed is the first row, then the inner query is executed for the first row. So when the operation, when this query is running for first record, so it passes the customer id 1 to the inner query and then checks, and then we will add one more and condition, and a dot account underscore type is equal to savings. Okay, so the now inner query is having the customer id 1 and it checks the type of savings account of customer id 1. Okay, let us also see the data from which is present in the accounts table. Select star from accounts just for comparison. Okay, so let me run this query. Okay, so this accounts table for customer id 1 account type is savings. So account type is savings, this returns 1. So this subquery inner query is returning 1, so there is at least one record. So when there is at least one record, exist keyword, what does it return? It returns to true to the where condition. So the customer id 1 will be there in the final results. If you see here, the subquery returns, if the subquery returns at least one row, the exist keyword returns true. So for the customer id 1, first customer id 1, it is returning 1. Okay, so the exist keyword returns true, and this first customer id is displayed in the final output. And then if we go to the, so correlated subquery is executed for every row present in the outer query. If you consider the next processing record is the second customer, c dot customer id, it will pass c dot customer id to the second id. So it will check the account type of the second customer. So second customer account type is checking, which is not savings. It will not return uh, any row, it will just return the null. So exist keyword, as there is no record present in the inner query, exist keyword returns the false. In the where condition, if it is false, then that data row will not be present in the result set. Like that, in a correlated subquery, this inner query is executed for all the 15 customers, for all the customer IDs present in this customers table, and then checks for the account type savings. Exist keyword returns true only when uh, at least one row is present in the subquery. So if you finally run this query and see the output, so we have the customer id 1 and 3, 5, 7, 9. So these are the customers that are having the savings account.